Still wall photography is a fiery alternative to traditional light painting. It's more dangerous, it's more fun, and it produces some incredible results, but you have to be very careful, so follow these instructions. To do still wall photography properly, you need to have a few things. The first thing you need is some safety gloves. So these are some pretty simple fireproof gloves. It means that when I throw this sparkling still wall that's flaming about a few inches away from my hands around my head, my hands aren't going to get burnt. You really do not want to hurt yourself, and although it looks really dangerous, I've not had an accident yet, but obviously accidents are quite common when you're playing with fire, so be careful and invest in some fireproof gloves. That's the first safety thing to get out of the way. The second safety thing is don't do it in a dry area. If you're in some dry grass, don't do still wall photography. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. We're going to do it outside in a field on a very wet night. There's dew all over the ground and nothing's going to ignite, and we're going to do it near a water source too, so we're not going to have any problems, but safety first, obviously. You can do it by rivers, you can do it on rocks, but don't do it by anything that's dry that might ignite. So that's the safety out of the way. Now let's talk about what it is and how we do it. Still wall photography, aside from the safety aspect of gloves, really just requires 5 things: your camera, a tripod, a whisk, some steel wool, and a lighter. So let's have a look at these now. Obviously, camera and tripod I don't need to explain to you. Obvious reason here is we're going to do a long exposure. Your camera needs to be steady on a tripod. The whisk though, that's kind of an unfamiliar tool to be using with photography. And the reason we use this is because when you put the steel wool in it, you can see it holds it really well, but it's going to allow sparks to fly out. And you'll see I'm using 3 whisks here. That might seem like overkill, but you do maybe 2 of these in a whisk and you'll find it all gets burnt and bent out of shape and you can't use it anymore. Which is why if you want to do an evening of this, buy a few whisks. I reckon with 3, you'd be lucky to do 9 photos. So be careful and always pack extra gear. The other thing we need is a lighter to ignite it, of course. But what are we igniting here? We're igniting steel wool. That's kind of an unfamiliar thing to be using in photography too. But for some reason, when you ignite steel wool, it kind of has this combustible sparkler effect. It flames up and then it ignites the rest of the steel wool. Not all at once, but almost in a slow burn. It will give you perhaps 20 seconds of burn, maybe 30 with a couple of these in here. And then the technique is pretty simple. You ignite it as soon as it starts to burn. You take your gloves, obviously put your gloves on, and you can swing it around like this, and these sparks are going to fly out in all directions. Now, how you get creative with this is up to you. You can do it inside dried out old water tunnels or something. You can do it under bridges. You can do it while walking. But I would say don't do the full length to the floor, because remember, you're getting sparks that come off this. You want to be able to see the sparks come off and hit the floor. So don't do it all the way off. But the great thing about this twine is you get to hold the whisk away at arm's length. You don't really want to do it straight over your head, because the sparks, where they're going to go, they're going to come down and hit you. So don't be too put off by the safety warnings in this video. It is quite easy and it's very fun, and it produces some really awesome results. So let's go out now. We're going to drive up the street somewhere and we're going to go do this. We're not going to do this in the garden because it's a rented house and we want to be respectful to the owners. So we're going to go find a new location. We found a dark location. It's a dirt street in a quiet neighborhood. There's no one here. It's just dust on the ground and then green grass at the sides. Big wide road, so loads and loads of space here, so it should be very safe. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk down the end, I'm going to ignite this, I'm going to spin it around, and I'm going to walk towards the camera. And when I start, I'm going to have one of our videographers hit go on the camera, and then I'll walk all the way towards it for about 30 seconds or until this runs out. So let's do that now. So that's still water photography. I think you'll agree that we managed to get some awesome photos, and I encourage you to go out and try it for yourself. And when you do, share your photos with us. We'd love to see them. Thank you very much for watching.